Jason Tobin, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How you doing, brother?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm doing good. Thank you very much.
Man, it is such an honor to have you on. I've been such a big fan. I discovered you in that film Jasmine. I thought that was a really
Oh,
cool film. And then man, it's so funny. I just had the chance to finish Warrior finally. I got a few episodes when I had my Cinemax thing, and you were so incredible in that show. I mean, you were my favorite character, man. You were like Hoon Lee's a friend. He did the show, and
mm.
man, you're so outstanding. And then that same day, I was like, I kind of was so depressed that it ended on like such. Hopefully we have a season three, but then I just randomly decided to watch Beverly Hills Ninja to go the other way. And then who do I see but you, man?
Wow, wow. That's interesting because you basically watched the bookends of my career right there. Beverly
Yeah,
Hills,
the beginning and
yeah, totally. Beverly Hills Ninjas was literally my first line, one line in a actually, like a SAG paid Hollywood movie. You know what I mean? It
oh
was,
man, those are the hardest to
yeah,
get.
they
But
are, man, they are.
so talk to me, man. Where did you grow up?
So my dad's actually English. He's British. He's
Oh, wow.
an English guy, and he met my mom when he was working for the British government in Hong Kong,
Okay.
like a long time ago when it was still a British colony. And so I grew up in Hong Kong, and then we moved around quite a bit. My dad was an entrepreneur, and so we lived in the Philippines, lived in Singapore for a bit, and then during that period, I actually went to boarding school in the UK,
Oh, wow.
and it was in boarding school actually where I I was bitten by the acting bug. So I was nine
Talk to me
years
about
old.
that.
Yeah, so it was interesting because like I was 9 years old when my dad sent me to boarding school in the UK. I'd been living in Asia. I'd been like growing up wearing like t-shirts, shorts, and flip-flops. That very very hot climate, and then all of a sudden I'm in the UK, literally freezing my ass off
Oh
in the
man.
winter. uh, and I was really homesick, just thousands of miles away from family, and
Yeah.
I was unbelievably homesick. And then I think it was the first week of school, we had a drama class, and I just instantly, fell in love with all the games that we played. It wasn't
Uh,
We weren't performing yet, but it was just theater games and just
like improv
drama
and
class,
yeah, yeah.
improv, yeah, yeah. And I had a really great teacher who, I actually reflect on this sometimes and wonder like what would have happened if I'd had a really great teacher in another subject. But anyway, I had this great teacher, this drama teacher. His name was David Wendon, and he really made me believe that I actually had some ability or something. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I didn't, maybe I
No,
did.
you definitely
But
do, man.
either way, it was like that thought, that belief, that enjoyment that kind of like carried through. And it wasn't actually. I didn't even know that you could be an actor. I think I was like 17 or 18, thinking of like university and what to do with my life. And I had applied to all these like universities and
Like
um
the radas, the lambdas, or
no, 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 no.
oh, oh,
At this point, I didn't even think you could be an actor.
oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't understand that you could be an actor, right? So I was applying for like law school and
Oh,
that kind
like
of stuff.
proper
Yeah.
job. Got it.
Yeah, proper job,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And and then I I did really poorly in my so in the UK and in Hong Kong, we did this thing called A levels. I
Okay.
guess for you guys in high school, you guys do like SATs, right, to get into
SATs.
university.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we do a bunch of exams called A levels, and I basically did terribly in all of them. um
I get it,
did
man.
really
I didn't do
bad. I
great
did
either.
really bad. I had done really well up until like the my last year of high school, and then I got a girlfriend.
Ah, nice. Was she
And
worth it?
then she was definitely worth it, but it was funny because she ended up getting like straight A's and
Yeah.
I flunked out. And I'm like, wait a second, when did you have time to study? I was literally with you all the time. And so she was like studying behind my back. How dare you? You betrayed
Yeah.
me. But yeah, so when I was 18, um I think I think my dad had already kind of gotten the idea that I wanted to be an actor, because I'd just been talking about it. But like I said, I didn't know that you could be one. I thought actors and their careers were just magic. They were picked out of the sky
Yeah,
and like, all
they
right,
won the
you're
lotto.
the
Yeah.
one that, yeah, I had no idea that like you could like go learn it and then like, go out for a job and you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it was a thing. And so one day my dad, I was like 17, he gave me he found like a little ad in a one of those like a cheapy classified ads magazines, right?
Yeah.
And there was an acting class being taught in Hong Kong. I was living in Hong Kong at the time, by this American guy, and his name was Lewis Roth. And he was basically at that time he was this white American guy from New York who had been in like a ton of Hong Kong movies in
Wow.
all sorts of little parts and big parts, but like he was always the white guy.
Yeah.
So he played cops, he played bad guy, he played everything, and he was in all these films, Jackie Chan films and stuff. And so he started teaching this acting class, and I started going to it. And there was this woman in the class who had just arrived in Hong Kong. She's from New York as well, and she started telling me about acting classes in New York and LA. And I was just looking at her like incredulous. I'm like, wait, you see, you need to like it's like a university. You get like, no, you need to apply.
Yeah.
She says, no, you just pay the money and you go. I'm like, what? Are you serious? Like I just I had no concept at this stage
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
what it was like, right? So I'm like, because I'd been like applying to schools and not getting into it, and all of a sudden you're telling me I could like follow
Do
my
your
dreams
dream.
and
Yeah.
no one is gonna stop me. Oh my
Yeah.
god, like it was. So anyway, long story
At this
short,
point, have you
yeah.
had any experience with the States or no?
No, I'd never been. Well, no, I take that back. I'd been to America as a kid on holiday, but
Yeah.
I'd never been there. Yeah,
To
I'd never
live
been there
or
as
work.
to
Yeah.
live or as an adult, or I couldn't even remember. I mean, I saw photos when I was there,
Yeah.
but I don't remember it. And so, so so basically, yeah, I think within like 6 months I packed up my bags and I moved to LA, and I was like 18, arriving in LA not knowing a
Oh, a
thing.
classic Hollywood
Yeah,
story. Yeah.
totally. So
That's
I
amazing.
arrived with one bag. It was yeah, it was pretty crazy. It's one of those things where like I think when you don't know, you're braver. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
would I do that now? I'd be like,
Yeah, of
there's like a
course
million
not.
reasons,
We're
you know what I
bitter
mean?
and we
Like,
know.
no, no, that's crazy talk. That's
Yeah,
crazy talk.
but sometimes
Uh,
that beautiful naivete works in your favor, So
Totally.
it sounds like your father was a really big supporter. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's interesting because both my parents have been extremely supportive of my dream to be an actor, and the long the long road that's been.
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate for that because I know a lot of other actors, they don't get that kind of support, especially maybe if you. I mean, I'm sure all families, but particularly like Asian families, like
Yeah. Yeah.
the idea of being an actor is just like what
Yeah.
it's so
Do you know Orion Lee? He did the show and it talked.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you
Same, yeah.
talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing. But fortunately, like for me, like my parents were, I guess, kind of rebellious in their own right. I mean, at the time, a mixed race couple, and my dad's a character, my mom's a character. They're both larger than life, and so fortunately for me, like they're very supportive. And I it's kind of funny because I remember even saying to my dad when I was 18, like with all this like enthusiasm, I don't care if it takes me 20 years, I'm gonna do this, like and my
Oh,
dad, I remember because I one day I asked my dad, I said, of all the things that I've over the years, I tell him, I want to do this, I don't want to do that, and he'd be like, yeah, whatever, just thinking like these things were a whim. But for some reason, when I told him I wanted to be an actor, he actually he heard it and he never questioned it, and so it was really satisfying because like it's been a long road. And well, 2 years ago when we were filming Warrior, I flew my dad out and, showed him around set. And
Oh
I'm like, you
man,
know what, I was like, it was so like gratifying,
yeah,
you know.
I've been to Cape Town for a film, and I know what it's like there. It's the most beautiful place on earth, and you guys did that at the
Yeah,
studios, right?
that's right. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man,
yeah.
such a beautiful studio. Like it's
It's
incredible,
amazing.
man. And that's so beautiful that you got that gift, man. And I say
Yeah.
this very rarely on the show, but there's
Mm,
such a distinct energy and there's just so much existence behind your eyes, and that's why I
yeah.
love
Thank you.
watching you work, man. So I'm so
Thank you.
curious, when you were a child, I know you
Mm,
said you were in boarding school, but also you spent time in Hong Kong. Were any
mm.
of those kind of like Hong Kong films a part of your youth, like seeing Jackie Chan,
Yes.
or
Yes.
they were?
Yeah. So absolutely. So, uh, I was so fortunate to have grown up that way because obviously I was exposed to American TV and cinema. I mean, I watched a ton of TV and a ton of movies.
Yeah.
I was always allowed to watch movies. Like it was a good, it wasn't. I didn't grow up with parents who was like, oh, don't do that.
Yeah,
Too much
yeah.
screen.
I
It
had
was
the
like,
same
no,
thing,
no,
man. Yeah.
like I was able to watch a lot of movies and a lot of American films. I watch a lot of British films and comedies, and I grew up watching Hong Kong movies. So
Yeah.
I got all of that, and it's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, and but I do feel like I'm very much influenced by all of that. Um, so in some ways, when I play Young Jun in Warrior, that is every bit as every bit uh, of all that the Hong Kong cinema that I grew up with, but there's
Yeah.
also a lot of the American stuff and the British stuff. I'm bringing it all together, and
Yeah, because
one of
it
the things
does
I,
have those
you know,
the Western and the Hong Kong notion kind of blended together
totally,
in this beautiful amalgamation of post Civil War San Francisco, and
yes,
And I'm
yeah.
I'm curious, man, because you're so like you're titan in that show, the way you move. Martial arts, were those a part of your life starting young?
That's right. Yeah. So again, I've been studying martial arts most of my life. I remember again, I was in boarding school, and that was probably the first time I started doing martial arts. We did judo, and I was literally the only Asian boy.
Oh,
I think I
really?
was only of one. I was literally one of only two Asian boys in the whole school. It was a all boys boarding school, and I remember there was my first martial arts instructor. His name was Toby Hunter. He was a judo instructor, and it was funny because I remember when I walked in the room the first day, his eyes lit up. He's like, "What? There's actually an Asian person I get to teach martial arts to." So it was really sweet, and yeah, and so I kept that going, and as I went through high school, I started getting into Taekwondo and Muay
All
Thai
the
towards the
different
end, and then
disciplines of it all.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
and then
amazing.
and then when I moved to LA when I was 18, I didn't have so I the first thing I did was, before paying rent or anything, I would pay for my acting classes. And then the second thing I would do was pay for my martial arts classes. And I started studying at the Inosanto Academy in LA. And I basically just took every class that they had there. If I wasn't doing anything, I would be in class. So,
Yeah.
and and it was such a great environment because there's so many stunt guys that trained
Train
there,
there. Yeah.
and obviously the Bruce Lee history, and it's interesting because when I look back at that time, a lot of those guys are now like filmmakers and stunt coordinators,
Was
so
that
it was a good
something
environment.
that ever piqued your interest, maybe, as like a survival job to do stunt work? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, I've dabbled in stunts. I've done one or two gigs. I wouldn't call myself a full out stuntman because I don't want to disrespect the guys that
Yeah.
really, are of a really elite level. But yeah, I kind of, got into that environment. But I had gone to LA because I wanted to be an actor. My whole goal and dream, my whole life was I just wanted to be this. I wanted to be a great actor and do important work.
You are, man. You
And
did it.
oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so I always kind of kept my martial arts and my acting separate, just because I knew that like I didn't want to go down that martial arts actor path,
Yeah.
and not because I didn't respect it, but that just wasn't what I wanted to do. I
You
wanted to do, yeah.
like a Robin Chu, or like
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to disrespect any martial arts actor,
yeah.
but like, I just wanted to keep martial arts and acting separate because I
Got
knew
it.
that
Okay, that's what. All right, yeah.
once you, yeah, as in like once you became that, like it was,
Hard to
um,
distinguish
it was
yourself from that.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would hear that from other guys. It's like, oh, once you're, in that sort of
You're not going to
world,
see Jet Li do a drama film. You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And and so I really wanted to be, so I really wanted to focus on my acting, and so, um, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I was being offered martial arts roles and I was turning them down. I probably would have taken every single job that
yeah,
was, but I just kind of kept it discreet. And it wasn't really until uh, Warrior that I was finally able to bring my two passions together,
yeah.
because I love martial arts. And um, let me condense this story, but basically, before Warrior, I'd not trained in a long time, probably like a good decade.
Oh wow.
And
Do you mind?
yeah, yeah.
Did you just get bored with it, or did you know?
Well, yeah, it's weird because like both acting and martial arts in my life, I've gone through periods where I quit or fell out of love with it
Yeah,
and then had to come back to it. You know what I mean? And Warrior, I've said this quite a few times, but you know, it's such a gift to be working as an actor and to be working on a television show, and then to not, but then to be on a great television show and then to have a
yeah.
great role. These are like amazing
It's
gifts.
impossible odds. It so rarely happens, man.
It so rarely happens.
Yeah,
And so to get this job, I was extremely grateful for. But one of the greatest gifts that Warrior has given me is that it's given me permission to fall in love with martial arts again.
yeah.
And so now I'm like, I can't, I'm just thinking about it all the time. I'm trying to train as much as I can. And now I'm surrounded by these amazing martial artists. I get to meet, amazing fighters and martial artists,
Yeah,
and I'm still like a geek, about all this stuff. So,
totally.
it's just, yeah, it's one of the perks of this job. And so finally, like so when I finally got Warrior, and and
Working with Shannon
uh,
Lee of all people.
Shannon Lee, right,
Yeah.
and being a big Bruce Lee fan. So finally, because I thought that boat had passed. I thought I was like, oh, I probably, it looks like, I probably won't do any martial arts films. It never came, I never got that opportunity. And then when Warrior came, I finally I could, bring these two passions together. And I remember once I got the job, I called up Jonathan Chopper, our showrunner, and I asked him, I said, so, what's the deal? Like once I get to Cape Town, like with training and martial arts and stuff. So, can I train and with the stunt team? And he's like, yes, of course. He said, you can train as much as you want or as little as you want.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because no one had even asked me what my martial arts background was
No
when
way.
got Warrior.
Was it an
Yeah,
offer,
it
or
was.
was it an
No, no,
audition?
no, no. It wasn't an offer. It was audition. I
Wow.
definitely auditioned for it, which is a story in itself. But I'd gotten the job just purely on the acting and the scenes, right? And so no one had even asked me like, do you even know how to throw a punch or any? No one had asked me that.
That's so funny.
So when JT said, yeah, you can train as much as you want or as little as you want, I go, okay, well, there is no goddamn way I'm going to be in a Bruce Lee TV show and not train my ass off. You know what I mean? To look good.
Yeah.
And so yeah. And when I arrived in Cape Town, the initial scripts that I had been given, there was no description of what Young Jun's weapons of choice were. And
Oh, the knives weren't in there.
they were not part of the script. Were
Oh
not in the
wow.
scripts yet. Yeah. And and so when I got there, as we pieced the character together, I remember, went into hair and makeup, and they're like, "Yeah, we're thinking about giving you a pompadour," and I'm like, "Yes, yes." I was like, "Yeah, that sounds cool," they put my hair up, and I was like, great, perfect. So apparently they had considered that for Assam, and then when they approached the producers and JT, and they're like, no, 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 that's more of a Young Jun thing.
Yeah.
So thank goodness I got the pompadour.
I
And
fully agree.
then I went to the stunt tent and I met, Brett and the gang, and he's like, yeah, we're thinking of like, maybe Young Jun, he uses two knives, and I'm like, oh yes. And I was like,
So badass.
just like so badass.
Yeah.
And I go to wardrobe, and they're like, yeah, the tongs are going to be gonna have different looks, and they're going to be like more Mongolian. They're going to be more like Qing Dynasty. You're going to be wearing a Gucci, like a Armani or whatever, Hugo Boss style suit.
Get to look
fitted.
cool.
I'm like,
Get to
get out of here. Oh man, it was like they make me look so cool, and like I get to do
dude, you
so much
do look
cool
so
stuff,
cool,
man. Like,
oh, I'm
man.
curious, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm a skateboarder, and I just
Yeah.
recently got back on one, and yeah, I still have certain mechanics of it, but there's certain things I can't do. When you got to Cape Town and you jumped back into the martial arts, did it come kind of, because you spent so much time of your life focusing,
Yeah.
or was it arduous for you to dig back into that?
Yeah, there definitely was. I mean, I fell back into it quite quickly, but yes, time does things to you, right? And like, there's some muscle memory, but obviously I didn't have the fitness or the that I had when I was, much younger doing martial arts. And obviously one of the main things that goes is flexibility. So I was like, all right, gotta stretch.
Do some yoga.
Gotta do a lot of stretching,
Yeah.
and now obviously I need a lot more recovery time, for fight scenes and that kind of thing. So yeah, but sometimes I'm surprised, like, oh man, I took all that time off, and I still know what I'm doing.
Yeah, of course you do.
Relatively.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the other thing is I'm just surrounded by the best team in the world. I mean, I always think of this like my career where, for many, many years, like I was playing like the lower leagues. And if I use like sports as an analogy, felt like I've been playing like maybe, regional or like, the Asian tour or whatever.
Yeah.
And then finally I got called up, with where I got called up, back up to the big leagues. And I really genuinely feel like, I'm playing for, one of the top teams. Yeah. And not only that, but I'm a star player. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not on the bench, I'm like, give me the ball,
Yeah.
And
you have this amazing camaraderie, the story is as much about Assam's character as it is about Young Jun,
Yes.
And
yeah.
I absolutely love the balancing of the storytelling. But I'm curious, before we take a deep dive into Warrior, just for the audience sake. So when you were in LA, you were 18, you were doing these martial arts classes. How did you land the agent? What was how did I land an agent? How did you get Beverly Hills Ninja? How did that happen?
Okay, so I kind of mentioned that like Beverly Hills Ninja and Warrior kind of like the bookends of my career, right? But actually, it took me a long time to get Beverly Hills Ninja. You know what I mean? Like I'd been in LA a good long time by that point, and so when I arrived when I was 18, I didn't know anything. I had no one to give me advice or anything. It was back in the days, like it was. I'm aging myself now, but it was. It's not like now where you can just Google everything.
And everything.
There are forums, and you can do. It was like I arrived. Headshots were still black and white. There was 2 publications that would come out weekly called Drama Log, and I think it's still Backstage West.
Yeah, Backstage. Yeah.
That would have like some casting notices and ads for classes and that kind of thing. And so I basically got to LA and I started from the bottom. I just, would submit myself to, student films and I signed up to be an extra and I probably I was basically a professional extra for a good 6 months. Like I had like an extras cast calling company, I think they called it. And every day they would send me on a different gig. And, and I would try and do as many students. To this day, I'm not really sure how many student films I've done, but I've done tons. I think I might have done like I don't think I'm exaggerating, 30 or 40 student
Yeah, I
films.
saw that on your IMDb. Your
Yeah,
credits are
yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Just like USC, UCLA, AFI,
Yeah, AFI, some of the best.
LMU,
Yeah.
North, wherever if I could get on anything, I would get on. I would try and get on it. And basically, my thinking was I just need as much time as possible. Kind of like a pilot, you need your hours. You need your
Yeah.
hours on
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
And I remember like the first time I was, on a gig, and I was just so stiff. I was like,
So
like
intense.
it just so I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
And I would talk really fast because, I just want to get through the scene as quickly as possible, and so it took me a long time. I think I got Beverly Hills Ninja, and so right around Beverly Hills Ninja, that one line, I also landed a small indie Asian American independent film, and I was one of the main characters. And I think I was probably on my 7th year in LA at that point.
Wow.
So it took me a long time. It was
Yeah.
some back then I would say things like I wouldn't wish these years on my worst enemy, because those were really, they were tough, man. They were super tough. I was just broke all the time. And I remember like scraping up pennies for,
Yeah, I know.
99-cent burgers, and just feeling sorry for myself.
I
And
know the feeling well, bro. Yeah.
so those were, but yeah, it took me, I think it took me a good 6-7 years, like just like slugging away. And by that point, to be honest, I was kind of burnt out. So
Did you go back
man,
to Hong Kong?
no, I think I think the 8th year I was there, or year or two, 18 months after those movies, I landed a role in a movie called Better Luck Tomorrow, which
Yeah.
was directed by Justin Lin. And
Who you forged your relationship with, who
yeah,
I mean, you just did Fast 9, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was really fortunate. So the little indie film that I did around the time of Beverly Hills Ninja, the movie is called Yellow, and it's about a group of Asian American kids on grad night, and so that film and Justin's first film had been traveling around
The festival
on the festival circuit together.
Yeah.
So he knew of me, I knew of him, and then one day I get a call and to audition for Better Luck Tomorrow, and long story short, I mean, Better Luck Tomorrow was basically the turning point for me. Like, it really put me on the map. It was a film that went to Sundance. It was important. Made a splash. It's still considered a classic, and to this day, like I'm sitting here in Bangkok working, with these amazing actors, and they make me feel old sometimes, because they're like, oh yeah, we were kids when we watched your movies. We were so inspired by your film. Like, oh God.
You look 21 to me, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And but yeah, that was kind of the turning point. And then I was burnt out though. After Better Luck Tomorrow, I was like, man, I'm kind of done with LA. And because I kind of felt that it was weird, because I felt like my dreams of wanting to be an actor and to work in the industry was beginning to like make me feel trapped and imprisoned. You know what I mean? Which is totally not why I became an actor.
Do you feel like part of that was the lack of representation? Because Asian characters were depicted as I mean, just being honest, like as ninjas or as villains or as like that must now it's like films like Minari, and it's there's so many wonderful rich roles. Did you feel limited by what was available to you, or do you think, or was that not part of it?
I mean, yes, that definitely was a part of it, but also like I feel like every actor, regardless of age, ethnicity, sex, has their own cross to bear, so to speak. It's not easy for any actor of any ethnicity or look or whatever. But each actor has a unique set of problems and things to deal with, right? So that was definitely a part of it. But I just wasn't at the stage of my career where like I wasn't working enough. I wasn't I didn't have the opportunities to express myself as a performer. So, and definitely roles were limited. But then I started to get into like this little niche, which
Yeah.
was Asian American independent films.
Yeah.
And so to be part of Yellow and Better Luck Tomorrow, like
And
even though there
Jasmine, would
wasn't
that fall under that? Yeah.
Jasmine,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So and I've often said that I'd be very happy to stay working in that, in that world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would be more than happy to stay there. I mean, just to work is amazing, right? So um yeah, so around that time, I felt like, my dreams were imprisoning me. I'd been in LA for a long time. I'd struggled really hard, but finally I was getting a few breaks. And then Better Luck Tomorrow was just like this gift that came out of nowhere.
Did that
And
get you
lucky.
Tokyo Drift? Because didn't Justin
Yes.
have something to do with that as well?
Yeah,
Or
so basically, we went to Sundance with Better Luck Tomorrow, and Justin's career took off, and I had a little hiatus in the middle there. I literally, so we went to Sundance, and after Sundance, I went on vacation to South America. I went to Buenos Aires,
oh,
and my mom's is a big dance fanatic. She just loves to dance, and she performs every year in the on a float, one of those Brazilian dance
oh,
troupe
nice.
floats in London. Yeah, my mom lives in London, right? And so anyway, she called me up. It was right after Sundance, and she had said that like she was like not she was she was just a little bit depressed and like whatever. And I said, look, mom, let's go on vacation and let's go dance. And so
Yeah.
we thought about going to Brazil or something and go dance there. But for some reason, there were like good deals on flights to Argentina, and my mom loves tango. And so we went
Oh man,
to
so
Argentina for two
beautiful.
weeks. Amazing. It's so amazing. So
Yeah.
I went there, and I met up with my mom. We danced tango for 2 weeks, taking lessons, going to milongas and all this stuff, and taking some Spanish lessons. Had a great bonding time. And then my
Yeah,
mom
so
left.
beautiful. You need
Yeah, it
to
was
make
really
a film
beautiful.
about that, man.
I know, I know. It was interesting because it was a real like turning point for me, because my mom then went back to London, and then I got on a flight back to LA. And I remember on the flight back to LA thinking about my apartment and thinking about my life, and just going, ugh, man, I not
Yeah.
just kind of dreading the thought of going back to the life I had there. And I arrived in Atlanta, and the I arrived in Atlanta, and the immigration officer looks through all my paperwork and basically figures out that I had overstayed my visa in the
No.
States. Yes. So up until that point, I had been like bouncing around on different visas, right? Because I'm British, and
Yeah.
I'm from Hong Kong. So, and no one at that point in my career was going to give me a visa to be, study acting and like,
Yeah.
take classes and like do student films and, get one line, you know what I mean? Like, so my thought was like, at some point in my career, I'd be able to like, get,
Your
sponsored
agency
it,
or a production
something.
could, yeah.
But but I wasn't at that level yet. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, the immigration officer figured out that like I had overstayed on one trip to America. I had overstayed by like 13 days. So anyway, long story short, they freaking shoved me in a freaking jail cell and refused me entry into the country. And I had to turn around and go back to my own country. And so I had a choice of like going back to Hong Kong or the UK. And I thought to myself, wait a second, I just had 2 amazing weeks in Argentina. So so instead of going back to my own home country, I went back to Argentina, and I'd met some people during those 2 weeks, and I literally called them and like, wait, you just left like
Yeah.
like
I'm
24
back.
hours ago, and now you're back. And I ended up spending the year in Argentina, and kind of like
Hey,
taking a
what did you do
break.
with the LA apartment? Do you just let it go?
I called up all my friends, like Sung Kang,
Yeah.
from Fast, and all my homies, and I said, hey, just whatever you want, you can take it, and that was it.
That's
I
so
went from
rock and roll. I love that.
so and it was good, because it like
It
all of
freed
a
you.
sudden, yeah, it freed me. It
Yeah.
absolutely freed me, and it gave me permission, like because I wanted to use my brain in a different way, and I wanted to, yeah, like I said, I had felt imprisoned by my own dreams, right? So, but this had coincided right when like I had the biggest success of my career, which was
Yeah.
Tomorrow. So like I had this film, in a great role, it's getting a lot of notice, and I'm not there to take advantage of any of that, right?
Yeah. Well,
And
you just
so
didn't know, I
I
mean,
didn't know. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I missed out on a lot of opportunities. I think, maybe I did. I don't know. But I needed it. I needed a sabbatical, and
Yeah.
so I
You needed
studied.
to heal, man. We all
I
have to.
did
Yeah.
totally, totally. And then I spent a year in Argentina. I started learning Spanish, and then I went to London for a year. Started working there. But I found that in London that I was kind of uh, fighting the same battle that I was fighting in America, which was, being Asian in a predominantly, Caucasian country.
Yeah.
And so a year in London, I thought, oh, you know what? It's time for me to go back to Hong Kong and
Yeah.
try and, do something there and make something that's within my subculture, right? Because
Yeah.
in Hong Kong, obviously most film and TV is about local people, and rightly so. And then occasionally we'll get like Hollywood or foreign productions coming into
Yeah.
town and they'll film, but there really weren't any films or stories set within my subculture, which is, I'm an English speaking Hong Kong. I grew up in Hong Kong, mixed race,
Yeah.
as a and so I wanted to tell films, because I'd spent my career trying to be English or trying to be
Yeah.
American.
Fit
So I
into
want,
what other
or be
people thought
Chinese.
you should
Yeah,
be. Yeah.
or I'm not, so in Hong Kong I'm not Chinese enough. I'm England, I'm not English enough. American, I'm not American enough. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make films at least within my my sub my sub culture, and so that's what led to Jasmine. And
Wow.
Jasmine, yeah, and
Did you write that?
I co-wrote it, yeah, with my collaborator, Dax Phelan.
Amazing.
We came up with a story together, and yeah, I call it a little mini masterpiece because it's I really feel like it's a perfect blend of like Western and American sort of cinema from the 70s,
Yeah.
mixed with Wong Kar-wai and Hong Kong
Yeah.
cinema. And it's funny because now that when I watched The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix a couple of years ago, I'm like, oh my god, Jasmine is the Joker, but
Yeah. It's
without the
like the
makeup.
noir of,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Totally.
without the makeup and without the
Yeah.
budget, um, and so and then I was basically going down this path of, okay, um, I'm going to be making my own films. I was kind of, one of the things that burnt me out was auditioning,
Oh,
going on
it's the
lots of
worst.
auditions. And it just did a number on me. It kind of like, maybe I had some PTSD from it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know what, now I need to just make my own films, make my own opportunities, because I was frustrated that I would need other people's permission to do my work,
Yeah.
or express myself. So Jasmine was kind of like the first of film, of a bunch of films that I was going to make.
Beautiful
To
film,
just
everyone. Check it out. It's so incredible.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Yeah, it's a special one. That was a tough one, man. That was a tough gig. That was a tough gig, man.
But those are the
Wow.
battles that you
Yeah,
fight. You
yeah,
know what I mean? You did it,
yeah,
man. I mean, I
yeah.
got so much respect for that. It's so hard to get up and
Thank you
do
very
it.
much.
Not many people can
Thank you.
say that, man. So don't ever take that, it always be proud of that, brother, because I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
And
thank you.
so, man, that's so beautiful. And
Mm.
as you started making films, did these start getting you more and more opportunities, like audition wise, or were you so tuned out of the audition thing that you were just focusing on?
So yeah, so I was at the stage of my career where, because I had left America, and I had come back to Hong Kong to make films, and I started to like learn how to shoot and write and produce, and just basically because I wanted to become a filmmaker. I mean, as much as I wanted to act, I just thought, like I said, I wanted to create my own opportunities. And so I wouldn't say turn my back to Hollywood, because it wasn't like it was just there for the taking
Intentional
or
or
anything.
so,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? But basically I started to, just kind of focus on other things. And before Warrior, this is gonna sound crazy. Before Warrior, I hadn't had an agent or any rep. for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was working off my own, like, I guess my own
Connections.
reputation,
Yeah.
connections. Like, I would get gigs from people that would remember me, or they would know me from Better Luck Tomorrow. Every now and then, Better Luck Tomorrow would like save my ass.
Oh,
Like
still, that's your film.
someone,
Wow.
yeah, someone would be a fan of it, would like it, would know me, and then would get in touch with me. And then but I was doing a whole bunch of other gigs, and I was basically doing like 10 different side hustles to stay alive. And then in that interim, those 10 years, I got married, had kids, and I was bouncing around from doing acting work on film and TV when it would come, but then I would also be doing like acting in like a corporate setting, like corporate
Yeah.
training, going into law firms and banks, and doing role plays or
Yeah.
form theater, coaching and training for all kinds of stuff. So not the sexiest kind of acting
No,
work
but
in the
it's
world,
it's
but
it's you
like
got to
you know what I mean?
survive. Yeah.
Totally. And doing police lineups and all kinds of things, always with the intention in the back of my mind that I would keep making my films like Jasmine, and
Yeah.
that would eventually lead me back to Hollywood or wherever for films. But then one day out of the blue, I get a call from the casting for Warrior. So obviously I didn't have a rep then, so
Yeah.
they directly searched me out. So
Yeah.
they that was cool, and they had me read
Was it
for.
for Young Jun or was it for Assam?
No, it was for Assam. They had me
Ah.
read for Assam, and it was like I think it was 2017. It was in the summer. They had me read for Assam, and I remember thinking like I had done a decent job, but not. I didn't feel like oh man, I nailed it. I'm gonna book
Yeah.
this one. I didn't have that feeling. I just felt like maybe it would have been a role that would have been great for me, but in a different time in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know
I
what you
always
mean.
feel like
Yeah.
I feel like characters kind of like they come at the right time.
Yeah. Right time, right
You
moment, right place, right
yeah,
mindset.
yeah.
Yeah.
They find you or you find them, but there's always it. You know what I mean? Like exactly. And so I read for Assam, and basically every Asian actor read for Assam. That's where everyone starts. It doesn't matter
No
what archetype. What doesn't matter what archetype you are, right?
Yeah.
Everyone reads for that role. And so anyway, I read for that, and sure enough, I did not hear anything back from them. And months go by, and I've
Moved
forgotten
on.
it, but
Yeah.
moved on. Yeah, I always like trying. Once I'm done with an audition, I just move on, because otherwise it eats you
Paralyzes
up.
you, man.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
exactly.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
it's done. It's done. It's done.
Yeah.
So it was done, and then a few months later, I get a call, a frantic call from casting, and they're like, "Oh, we want you to read for another role," and I'm like, "Okay, all right," because
Yeah.
I had this hunch that this show would probably have other characters. I didn't know how
Yeah.
many
Totally.
Asian
Yeah.
characters, and that there would probably be something that was just perfect for me. And so they had me. They told me about Young Jun, and the casting director, Alexa Fogel, had
Oh,
said to
the
me, "Look,
best.
yeah, the best."
Yeah.
Had said, "Look," had given me very, very specific notes, right? Like, play it chill, don't go overboard, just play it calm. Like it was being hammered home to me,
Yeah.
play it chill. And then Justin Lin calls me, and he says same thing. He says like, play it chill, play it chill. And then Jonathan Schopper he calls me, says the same thing, like, play it chill. I'm like, all right, okay,
Yeah, I
I
got
get the message. I got
it.
it, guys. I got it. So I get the sides, and I'm like, really? This okay, all right. I'm a professional. I'll I can take direction.
Yeah.
So I did my first Young Jun audition on tape, and I played it super chill,
Yeah.
like I was Marlon Brando in The Godfather or something, and it's a scene I think in episode 3 season 1 when Assam comes out of prison or jail,
Yeah.
and we're celebrating, and I'm on the
Yeah.
bar,
Well, everyone's having the
toasting.
whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that's one of my audition scenes, and I'm like playing it super chill. Hey, so how was it in there?
Yeah.
Like, and I sent it in, and I didn't feel good about it at all,
Yeah. It's
And
such the
sent
wrong
it in,
direction for that.
went wrong, and I go home, and I fucking sit in the kitchen, in the dark. I'm just like thinking to myself, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like this kind of self-talk. Like, man, like
Yeah.
seriously. My wife walks in and she's like, the F you doing sitting in the dark? You stop moping around.
Yeah.
And anyway, the next day I get a call from Jonathan Chopper saying, no, 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 no. Like we need to see the energy of this guy, And I'm like, of course you do.
Yeah.
So he gave me the opportunity to redo my Young Jun audition. And what I did was I threw out every piece of note and direction that
Yeah.
anyone had given me about the role. Because everyone had been talking to me about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not gonna listen to anybody, with all due respect. And it's, I always talk about this, like one of the things that was really influential on me was Bruce Lee's philosophy.
Yeah.
And I always remembered him talking about, like, that through martial arts and obviously through acting, that you should honestly express yourself.
Yeah.
And I basically could hear that mantra in the back of my head. I was like, all right, I'm gonna freaking do this role the way I want to do it, because if I am so, I've had such a long career that's been ups and downs, and so my thinking was like, what, if I'm gonna be so lucky as to be given this role, then I better play him the way I want to play him. I better enjoy it. I need to enjoy it. You know what I mean? And not try and fit into other people's, like,
no, you need the catharsis for yourself.
I need it. Exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the gig. It was like, okay, it was purely about, if I'm going to play this guy, then I'm going to play him the way I want to enjoy it, and way I want to do it. And so I think I did like 1 or 2 takes. And it was there was definitely some, like, improv drizzled in.
That's so Young Jun. Yeah.
Because I knew, like, I think there was one line, like, I'm trying to remember the line. That's right. This speech didn't end up making the final cut, but there was some speech where, like I was saying something about, prostitution in Chinatown, and how they blame the Chinese for everything, and I just threw in a bunch of improv, like, I take responsibility for that, because Young Jun's always like at the brothel. So we just
getting
having
sticky.
A lot of getting sick, exactly, and just having a lot of fun with it, and then sent in the tape, and then, like, within hours we were talking about contracts, and
how did that moment feel, man?
It was so satisfying, man. It was so gratifying, because, like I said, I'd been really struggling. I was working 10 different gigs. We got 3 kids, and I was just hustling, hustling. And like I said, I didn't have an agent in 10 years. So I didn't think I was going to be working on a American TV show. You know what I mean? Like, I thought my role
with a budget, like
with a budget. Exactly. So,
yeah.
So yeah. And then it was a really sweet moment. And, it came at the right time for me, because, like I said, we've been really struggling, and then, I always say to my wife, I'm like, honey, why did you marry a broke, unemployed actor? What were you thinking? Like, what were you had no idea that we were going to be getting that, things would turn around. Like, you went into this blind. And so when we were filming season 2 of Warrior, and we're sitting in this amazing apartment that we rented for the duration of the shoot, and my wife's there, my kids are there, and I turn to my wife and I'm like, holy crap, like, I've achieved all my dreams. I've achieved all my dreams. Like, beautiful wife, beautiful kids. I'm a working actor. Like, I had this dream to be an actor, and, like, I'm doing it now. Like, I'm incredulous. Like, I was sat there and I was like, man, I freaking did it finally.
Dude.
You know what I mean? Like, fucking A, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm so proud of you, man. Oh my God.
It was funny, because like, it took me, like, so long, but to get here. But yeah, it's satisfying. I remember I had, like, this delayed response. I think, like, 6 months later, I was there by myself, and I was just thinking about riding the school bus to school when I was a little kid, dreaming about being an actor. and then thinking now, I'm going, and I remember just going,
Yeah,
just sitting there
dude.
like I just scored a goal in
Yeah.
at the World Cup, you know. I'm like,
Oh, you did it though,
yes,
man. You did it.
yes, man.
Oh
Right.
God, what a
It's
beautiful
crazy,
story.
man. Like I just sometimes I'm like, wait, I'm a kid from Hong Kong who had this idea that I could become an actor. And I mean, it was a long road, but like, yeah, here we are. So
Oh,
cool. So
so
cool, man.
beautiful.
So
In
cool.
any, I know a lot of the world is just discovering it, and hopefully this is what sets it on course. But any hope for season three? You think?
Um, so yes, I do think there's hope. There's nothing guaranteed, there's
Yeah.
nothing set in stone. Anything can happen. But what happened was long story short, when Cinemax kind of folded with AT&T's takeover of
Yeah.
Time
Time
Warner and stuff,
Warner. Yeah.
it basically got a bit messy, and we just became a casualty of a corporate reshuffling.
My friend
But
Carla Gugino's show, Jet, had the same thing happen to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it looked like it was dead in the water for a long time. However, things have changed now, and uh, there's more political will for it. Everyone involved, all everyone wants to do it. Jonathan Chopper, all the actors want to do it,
Yeah.
obviously. And
The
now that
fans need it. I mean, God.
fans, yeah,
Yeah.
and going from Cinemax to HBO Max has made all the difference, because it's not a scientific way to measure it, but like just judging through social media and the response, all the actors have noticed a big difference once it went to HBO Max.
That's
And
amazing.
so I think, like, if the audience keeps like watching it and keeps talking about it, and the numbers are there, I think like we stand there's hope, is all
Yeah.
I'm saying now. There's a
Yeah.
lot more hope now.
I
And
love
I
that.
I mean, it'd be crazy not to do another one.
Yeah,
It's like
I think it would be
the show,
outrageous. I'm
it's
gonna
like
write HBO's executive
I
tomorrow.
know.
Yeah,
The show's too good. It's so relevant, and it's like
it's more relevant. That's like that's what I when I watched it, I was like, I can't believe how relevant this is.
yeah, totally. And
Yeah,
like, how many shows like smash, Gangs of New York, Peaky Blinders with Bruce Lee martial arts? It's just so
yeah.
unique. And
Oh,
it on the surface you're like, hey, does that really make sense? But then when you watch it, like, oh yeah, it
it
does.
works perfectly.
It works. It
Yeah.
totally works. I think the pulpy, hyper realism, martial arts, the time period, and oh man, we're able to say more about today by setting the show back then.
Yeah.
It's
So
yeah. Mm.
so beautiful, man. Well, dude, few final questions. I don't want to take up,
Sure.
your entire day. You,
Thank you.
I know we mentioned Fast Nine, and you're working on a film now. Can you
Yes.
let people know? Obviously, Fast Nine. I don't know, with movie theaters, they keep changing dates, but that's
Yes.
coming out soon. And
Yes.
right now you're in Bangkok working on a film.
Yes. So 2020 was like, everyone knows what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So Fast 9 was supposed to come out in 2020, but because of the pandemic, it got pushed, and it's been pushed a few times. The latest that I've heard is that it's coming out June 25th of this year, 2021.
Okay. Okay.
And it says only in theaters at the bottom of every ad that I've seen.
All
So
right. They're
we'll see.
optimists. I
We'll
love
see.
it.
They're
Yeah.
optimistic. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm back in the franchise. I was in the third one, Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
And if you guys follow the franchise, basically Tokyo Drift
Three is the future of all the other
yes,
ones.
yes,
Yeah.
it's like a
Yeah.
different timeline,
Yeah.
and whatever. And and so yeah, 15 years later, I'm now back in the franchise.
Oh, that's
And
amazing, man.
it was super cool, because like I'd done like a season or two of Warrior, and then I'm in the trailer for F9 for like 1 second, and I got way more attention on social media from that 1 second of F9 than I did from 2 seasons of Warrior. It was crazy.
Oh,
I'm like, oh
no
wow,
way.
okay. I'm guessing this is a pretty big franchise then,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Well, Warrior's coming out, man. It's on HBO Max.
no,
So
now
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
on HBO Max. It's definitely it's changing. And then the film I'm doing right now is actually called Fistful of Vengeance. It's a Netflix movie. It'll be out in the fourth quarter of this year, and it's It's a feature film that's, I guess a spin-off, maybe. I don't know what you call it. Based on the series Wu Assassins, which was there's one season.
Yeah, I remember
Assassins
that.
And so this is like they take the team, the Wu family, basically, and this whole adventure takes place in Bangkok. It's very cinematic. It has a very different feel. It's and I get to work with these amazing actors, like, and perform it. Like Iko Uwais is, he's just he's going to go down as one of the greatest martial arts actors ever. I mean, he's phenomenal. And we've got Louis Tan, who is the lead actor in Mortal Kombat, and then Lawrence Cow's in it as well. And so it's great to work with these guys. I mean, when they called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to do the Wu Assassin standalone movie?" I'm like, "Yes, I do. I'd love to work with these guys."
That's so amazing. Well, dude,
so amazing.
This has been one of the most beautiful conversations I've had. And it's been the exact reason I created the podcast. And I'm so eternally grateful to you for opening up. And I have endless thanks. And when you're in New York, please look me up. Let's get dinner. Let's geek out over, Bruce Lee. Final question, man. Just for all the young Jasons, or, Ryans, or, people still fighting the good fight, acting's tough and pandemics happen. Any words of wisdom for them?
Hey, I'm still trying to figure it out myself. Even though I've been doing this for a while, I mean, it's just a never-ending learning experience. And the only real piece of advice I can give you, because I think when people want advice, they want some sort of like
optimistic,
that will change them.
Yeah.
But the only real piece of advice I can give anyone is to enjoy the work.
Yeah.
Enjoy the work. If don't let your happiness be based on some sort of success or where your career is. Just enjoy the work. If you love acting, act, enjoy that. Yeah. And that is the reward in and of itself. And if you're so blessed to be able to work in this industry, or then even better. But just enjoy the work for what it is, because that'll carry you through the bad times, the lean times.
Amazing story, Jason Tobin. I love you, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Let's
do
this again, man.
Thank you.
So
Absolutely.
much love. Enjoy filming. Have a blast. I'm so jealous. And we'll talk soon. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Ryan.
Much love.
Thank you very much.
I am thrilled to announce that An Actor Despairs is partnering with a wonderful CBD company called Kind Farms. Everyone out there has heard of CBD. I started taking it a few years ago when I first started getting sober and to help with my anxiety. Sadly, as one can do, I was overtraining in the gym, and a friend recommended a topical and a tincture to help with the pain. I tried it. It was okay. However, recently, I was introduced to a product that has really changed my life. Not only has it helped me with anxiety, but I am stronger than I have ever been. I'm able to carry out lifts my body used to prevent me from doing. Kind Farm products have single-handedly changed my life athletically and personally. They utilize 100% local licensed farmers, organic cultivation, and CO2 extraction for superior CBD. Kind Farms is turning CBD to a kind alternative to pharmaceuticals. Let's transform tobacco row into hemp row. If you want to get involved, please reach out. Together, we can make a difference. You can use my code RYAN10 for 10% off. You can find them on Instagram at Kind Farms Inc., all one word. That's KINDPHARMSINC, and their website is kindfarmsinc.com. Once again, my code for 10% off is RYAN10.